right, let's get our Facebook compadres up in here before it's officially time to get going. Talking some Broncos football. We got check mark. We got another check mark. Good morning. Good morning. It is April 21st, 2022, Thursday morning, 7:32 a.m. And that means we are officially less than a week away from the NFL draft. And it's time for Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, out there in Atlanta, Georgia, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. A week away. Feels
Oh,
like it's been, a long time coming. I covered recruiting for so long. And by the time you got to signing day, you're like, I'm tired of these kids. I'm ready for a new group. I'm not really. I don't feel like that with this one though. I like this class. I'm looking forward to seeing this class, where they get drafted, where they go, and then watching their careers unfold in the NFL the next decade.
yeah, it's going to be fun to see how it plays out. I am a morbid curiosity now at this point, and thank God not having to take a part in it. But how are the quarterbacks going to fall? Maybe we can have a topic about that later on, maybe on your channel or this one too, because it doesn't involve the Broncos anymore. Hallelujah! But after the Carolina at 6, it gets a little bit questionable. Maybe Atlanta at 8, and then after that, New Orleans, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe who knows? So really curious, really curious to see what happens with the quarterbacks. But let's say hello to some people in the chat here. Good morning to one of our favorites, Ethan. Good afternoon, gents in Broncos country. Ethan, I hope you're doing well. And hopefully you, even though the draft is almost going to be here and then come and go, keep pestering me about those linebackers, because maybe eventually I'll come full circle. You never know. Don't give up on me, Ethan. Good morning to you. Luke Wright. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you, Luke. We got Bryce coming in saying good morning, trying to sneak in and listen while I'm at work. Well, it's probably a little bit better than sneaking in and listening while you're showering, which apparently is a big subsect of our population here. So scrub it up. I guess, good for you guys. Bodily hygiene is important. Having, everybody knows the stinky kid from middle school and elementary school.
It's a little bit like motorcycles. A real motorcycle rider says it doesn't matter what you ride as long as you ride.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't care where you listen, as long as you listen. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Well, good morning to you, Bryce. And hopefully you can still contribute. First off, glad you can listen. Second, hope you can contribute to the chat, because that's what makes this group so special. A lot of people in this sphere, Broncos sphere, football sphere in general, have podcasts or show, and they're darn good at what they do. What makes this channel special, though, is you guys. For real, it's the back and forth, the way that you guys drive the content and the conversation. We're just vehicles for your ideas, and you guys kind of steer us the right way. We're some racehorses, I guess. We got the blinders on. And EJ coming in. Bonjour. Ooh, we got some French coming in this morning. Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you, EJ. US Dave in the house. Good Thursday morning, Bronco people. Sunny days in the house. Oh, he's saying drink your coffee, Scott. Sunny days with the thumbs up, coffee emoji, and the thumbs up. Good to see you. Kayleon Green, good morning to you. Kayleon smoking that cigar. Clayton Huron. Morning, guys. Good to see you. Stone Cold Tim, or Tim Bo Slice TV on Twitch. Good to see you.
Timbo Slice. You remember Timbo Slice, YouTube sensation?
Yep. Did he pass away? Did he pass away? I think he had
I think he did.
Okay.
Well, I kind of forgot about that. Those dead or alives get harder as you get older.
Yeah. Yep. Gosh. I'm only 30 and I feel that way, Scott. Timbo Slice. Morning, fellas. What's up, Broncos country? Good to see you, Timbo. Hope you're doing well. Clayton also says, got time to finally catch a morning show. Starting to work later. Too wet outside. Smash that like button and share, guys. Thank you guys so much. And I listen to Clayton's advice. Make sure you come in wherever you're listening, Facebook, YouTube, etc., etc. Click the thumbs up. Click the heart reaction, care reaction, whatever it is, whatever emoji you prefer. And then share the show as well. And make sure you're subscribed. Mark Schrader coming in. Go ahead, Scott.
Mark says, good morning, guys. And a couple nice comments in here. We got some new folks coming in. PD Swag says, good morning. So stoked to finally catch one of these live. You guys are awesome. Well, thank you. You're awesome. We're glad to have you here. Dale Fleming also said, I made a live Broncos for breakfast. I'm so proud. Falling Sloth coming in here. So good morning, Broncos country. Had a school book all our animal encounters for the week and then cancel. Well, that sucks. So I'm off today, so by surprise. Well, sorry for you, but glad you could join us. Yeah. Glad you could make the show for once. Not drinking my sloth coffee today. I think Clayton asked what we were drinking. I'm drinking Cafe Brit Altezano. It's a 7 on the 1 to 10 dark scale, and it's damn good. Altezano from Cafe Brit. I like it a lot.
Free publicity for Cafe Brit in this show. It's a niche, but
I know, I'm going to clip it and I'm going to send it to him and say, send me a check.
Or just send me a free bag
free
of coffee. Yeah, that'd be amazing. God, let me get in on that. I hiked up to Mailbox Peak here in Seattle and took up some stickers from back home, back in the Midwest. And I took a sticker of what's the coffee that I drink? Verana Street, which is a coffee roaster
Mhm.
in Dubuque, Iowa, which I absolutely have a coffee that I absolutely love. It's a flavored coffee, but it's like a caramel one. God, it's so good. Cow tipper. And I went up, brought their merchandise all the way at Mailbox Peak, what's his 4,200 feet of elevation gain over 9 miles. Well, I guess only over 3 miles because 5 miles is back down, is the descent. And like, hey, look at this picture on Twitter. Look, I made you famous. It's on the mailbox with all these other stickers, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. No response. Hurt me. I think Cafe Brit maybe would listen to us. But
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna clip this and send it to him.
Matthew Friday coming in. Good morning. He also says it's my B-Day today. Happy birthday, Matthew. Good to see you. Good coming on in here. Happy birthday. The chat is singing happy birthday for you right now. Also, a dirty little secret I told Scott before. I don't have any kids yet, so I think this is kind of important to me without having kids. But it's Summit's second birthday. He turns 2, so he's he's still a big puppy. But happy birthday to you, Matt. It's good to see you.
Two's a good, especially for a retriever. Then they kind of. I've always said about dogs. I'm like, it's a good thing they're cute as puppies, or they'd never make it to dogs, because you'd kill them. So right as the big retriever types, as they start hitting past 2, then they become the dogs that you just absolutely love. I say pretty hard on my dog for a year, and then I spend the next 12 years trying to make it up to him.
Yeah. He's
But
a
they're
big.
good. They're well behaved.
I don't know if he's well behaved. He's very sweet, but he has zero impulse control, especially with I live next to a big lake. Walk around the lake. Goose poop must be a gift of the gods because he just wants it so bad. Sorry, we'll get off topic here. Lawrence Rivera coming in. Thank you so much for the support, Lawrence. Good to see us. Says, guys,
Yep.
much love, everyone. Good morning, Broncos, brothers and sisters.
Lawrence breaking the ice today with the stars, and then Jacob Foster, the silent one, following up with some big stars. Appreciate you, Jacob, as always, a benefactor of the show, keeping us in coffee, keeping the lights on. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Greg Smith is in the house. Aloha, Nick and Scott. Greg Smith always hits us with the aloha. Good to see you, Greg. We have Clee in the house saying, nice to have a break from insanity for an hour. Well, Scott, we're not doing our job. This should be
I
pumping up
know.
the insanity for an hour, if anything else. Dale saying Nick and Scott are going to make us an omelet. Do you have a breakfast? Scott's a big breakfast foods fan, but I think a lot of times you like the simple things like cereal.
If I go out, I usually try and get stuff that I won't make myself. So I'll get an omelet. I always like everything omelets. I'm not overly picky.
Hmm.
Just make sure there's enough of it, and I'm usually pretty happy. So, but I love omelets, French toast, waffles, pancakes, all that
Give it
stuff's
to me.
good. Good. I like a good Denver omelet, honestly. The mushrooms, onions, peppers, lots of cheese, all good stuff.
I really love a good omelet with goat cheese in it. I like those softer, kind of stinkier cheeses. The goat cheese is phenomenal. And also anything that is like mushroom truffle that has a bunch of different mushrooms in it, sign me up. I think mushrooms are divine. God, so good. Peter Middleton coming in with the support here saying, so Stephen Weatherly went to the Browns. I know he was a bench player, but in my opinion, he played pretty well and deserved another year with the Broncos. Did I miss something? I don't think he missed anything. I think that if the Broncos had an injury occur, another injury occur, I guess, besides Randy Gregory's shoulder surgery. Can you call that an injury? I don't know. But
No,
if the draft,
not really.
not really, but he's like more injury risk now, I guess you'd put it. But I think if the draft came and went and the Broncos did not add an edge rusher, then you would have seen the Broncos maybe bring in a Stephen Weatherly type. But they're probably looking to draft their edge maybe as early as 64, maybe trade up, maybe not at all. So it's the fact that Weatherly signed before the draft kind of puts him out of contention because Broncos seem to be in a holding pattern until the draft, and then they will reassess what the roster looks like and go from there. And I think I looked at over the cap yesterday, and they have about $14 million. I don't think they'll need all of that to sign the draft class because I think they're going to trade back some and lower the cap hit on their overall draft expenditures this season. But either way, shout out to Stephen Weatherly. Good for him. Solid player. Where did he play? Was it Vanderbilt or Wake Forest?
Yeah, Vanderbilt. I mean,
Vanderbilt.
he played in 9 games and had 14 tackles.
He
He might be looking for it might be on him. I want a bigger opportunity. It's not just you might want to bring somebody in and say, yeah, but I didn't play last year. I want to go somewhere where I can play.
Yeah.
So that it might be on him to want to leave. Also, don't forget about that possibility as well. Snap counts. He was a special teams guy. He got 46 snap counts. He did play 262 snaps for Denver last year, which is not an insignificant number, and only had 14 tackles. So, meh.
Yeah.
Meh. Okay.
He is kind of meh.
He's a guy. He's one of those guys. You can find another guy.
I did like his ability last year. I felt like when he came in, he was one of the few guys on this team that was a good edge setter in defense and held up his own with length and strength and leverage at the point of attack. But that maybe just was a strong dichotomy to Malik Reed out there. So I know Stephen Weatherly had a big game against the Los Angeles Chargers, that Broncos home game. Sometimes when a guy has a good game like that, it kind of has an impact where people remember that, and that stands out, and they think they do better the rest of the games. Jonathan Cooper, another example of that. Jonathan Cooper was fine last year, but he absolutely beat the crap out of the Cowboys and had hype off of that, rode that hype for the rest of the season. So good player, but
people can have a matchup. They can get lucky. That's why I've said it was almost statistically impossible for a guy like Steven Means, edge for the Atlanta Falcons, to go the entire last 14 games without a quarterback hit.
Yeah.
Somebody blows an assignment in 14 games, for God's sakes. You should come unblocked in 14 games and have an impact. DWI guys saying, talking about Debo, too much capital and a high contract for Debo. Boy, that'd be fun. Yeah, I think the cheaper option for him on a short term would have been Cordell Patterson. I think Debo's definitely a better wide receiver, and maybe he wants to move back out to wide receiver. Is one of the reasons why he wants to leave San Francisco. He's like, listen, I don't want to be a running back. I get hit too much. Yeah. I am a wide receiver. Those wide receivers like being wide receivers. So maybe that's part of it also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Debo and the Broncos would be fun, but that means that you're trading your second this year, maybe your second next year, and Jerry Judy. Like that. Yeah, which it probably makes more sense just to keep Jerry Judy. And then you have to pay Debo as well. The Broncos, the way things are coming, guys, I mean, I hate to tell you this. I know we've been kind of you can be aggressive because you have a lot of cap room, and the Broncos do have a new rich owner coming in, but that Russell Wilson impending contract is going to change the formula a lot for the Broncos. You're talking $50 million a year against the cap, and the Broncos aren't set up to have massive cap numbers in the next couple seasons either. They look pretty middle of the pack before they pay Russell Wilson. So obviously they're going to be able to find ways to get it done, but how the team is being built is going to change. So this is a really important draft. It is important for 2022, but this draft this year is really important for what the future of the Broncos looks like, because you need to hit on these cheap, cost-controlled guys, because after you pay Russell Wilson, these are the types of contracts and players you're going to be leaning on to fill out a lot of your roster. So good luck to Peyton. This is a very important draft for this Broncos team.
And there's been scuttlebutt that the cap is going to have a big increase in the very near future, and it sure feels that way. The way some of the contracts have been going out,
TV money is coming.
People complain about salaries of players and stuff. I'm like, you let me know the next time an owner goes broke, okay? Please. I'd rather have the money going to the players. If you want to blame anybody for the cost of contracts being out of control, blame yourselves. Blame us. We're the ones watching the TV. We're the ones buying the products. We're the one paying the inflated ticket prices. Until we do something about that, price of sports is going to keep escalating.
Yep. It's capitalism there. Paul coming in. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Good to see you. Clayton asks, in this draft, do you guys think we'll pick up a blue chipper? It's definitely possible, but at 64, your odds of landing a blue chipper is pretty, I'd say probably like 1 in 20, something like that. Maybe beyond, let's just say round 3 and on, because pick 64 is the last pick. Getting a true blue chipper, which to me means a building block piece, that does happen, but I would say it's probably about 1 in 20 for those picks after the top 64.
I think it's 0, because blue chipper describes what they are before the fact.
Ooh, you're right. Honestly, you're correct.
Blue chipper is 0. You're not going to get a guy that is a blue chip. You talk about a blue chip prospect, a blue chip recruit. Now, can they develop into
a building block kind of?
Develop into one of those guys? Then you can. You can. But getting a guy, a grade A coming off out of the blocks at 64, no, you can't. Can you get a guy that can be a Pro Bowl player at 64? Yeah, you can. It's just a lot harder.
Yeah. That's a good call. Words matter, and you're right. Blue chip is kind of determines, it's like a 5-star guy. Even if a guy goes on to be good in the NFL and becomes a first-round prospect, he wasn't a blue chip recruit because he wasn't a 5-star recruit.
Right. He was a sleeper developmental guy, or underrated. That he wasn't a blue chip prospect.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
no, the odds of getting a guy there, unless you start falling to the Warren Sapps, Randy Moss, the guys that fall for off the field reasons. They were smoking dope or something, back then. Because to me, Sam Williams knocks on the door of that blue chip prospect status, but he gets knocked off of that pedestal because of the questions that surround him. I think he's pretty darn good, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're right. You know who else is pretty darn good? Franklin Peterson coming in with the $5 super, saying good morning, everyone. A little bit late. Franklin, you're just in time if you're helping us support with the $5 supers like this. Go Broncos. Thoughts on Cam Jurgens, Nebraska center at pick 64? I was talking to some people yesterday, and I would say that if Cam Jurgens is there at 64 and the board falls a certain way, then this could be a possibility. So I would be okay with it. I think that center is probably the position that the Broncos drafting somebody in day 2 of the draft is probably going to make the biggest impact on what this team looks like in 2022, offensively speaking. So, and I think Jurgens, a lot of people have him as center number 1. So if they took him at 64, it's not a position of value, so to speak, because you can find centers throughout the draft. But at pick 64, you're resetting the cost control of that position. You're getting an athlete with some length as well and some size, some versatility. I get it. One thing about Cam Jurgens, I will say that does concern me a bit, is that he had, I think, 3 or 4 poor snaps at Nebraska this last year that resulted in, botched snaps, fumbles, et cetera, which is a good rate. You want to watch out for that. If you guys remember, that was a big deal for Connor McGovern as he transitioned from guard to center for the Broncos, and then he got it kind of squared away. But definitely watch for Cam Jurgens at 64. I think that's actually a distinct possibility for the Broncos.
Yeah, I think it gives you ability to move them around too. I mean,
Yeah.
usually center can play guard, guard can play center. Doesn't mean that's their best position, but interior line, I kind of group those together as guard center for sure.
Absolutely. Ryan coming in here saying Broncos and biscuits for breakfast. Great way to start the morning. Good to see you, Ryan. Also, we got Barack coming in. Good morning. Broncos for breakfast. Good to see you, Barack. And DWI guys, Ethan saying Pro Football Focus changed rankings again, so mock draft was weird today. Go ahead, Scott.
Good. I know they changed them. What was it? Monday night, or
So
was
they
it
changed it
Tuesday night? We
again?
did our first draft.
I think
I don't remember, but anyway, it was
yeah.
right after one of the shows. I think it was right after the Building the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I think they changed it Tuesday night, and we did our first mock draft with it on Wednesday morning on my channel. So we're going to go through it. We want to do one today on Thursday before we get into the weekend, go through PFFs, because some of the guys that we were getting bad grades for have now moved up. Thank you for catching up, PFF.
That's shocking.
So we want to go through a live mock draft to close the show, and we can burn through those in about 10 minutes at this point. So
yeah,
we'll get into that too.
And I think Pro Football Network still has the draft class option is from the 2011 class. So they're still a little bit behind. Kayleon saying, Nick, who was the female on the show Saturday trying to get on? Oh, God. That was Kendall, Pro Football Focus, and you can follow her on Twitter. And
Kendall Valenzuela.
Kendall Valenzuela. Yep, there was a Kendall I went to high school with, and she was cute, but I knew it was never going to happen because Kendall is just, it's awful. It just can't be done. It's against the rules. So, no, she was, God, brilliant, really well spoken, really enjoyed having her on. Make sure you guys are following her on Twitter. Former Seattle native, went to Denver, and now with Pro Football Focus. So she did disparage Cincinnati a little bit. Sorry, guys, if there's any Cincinnati listeners on here, but having moved from Iowa to the Pacific Northwest, I kind of get it.
No, that's one of the reasons you live in places like that. You like it to be a little calmer, a little slower as far as that stuff goes. But anywhere I've gone, I could find places to get in trouble.
Yeah,
there's something going on everywhere if you want to find it. And Peter just coming in saying a blue chip pro would be very unlikely, but Simmons was a 3rd rounder, Wilson too, and Tom Brady was a 6th. So that wasn't the point. Just to clarify on this, typically when you're talking using the term blue chipper, you're talking about before the fact, not what do they develop into.
Yeah.
So blue chip guys go first. That's why they're blue chip prospects. You don't say he's a blue chip player. You say he's a blue chip prospect. So you're predicting the future with the term blue chip. So can you get a Pro Bowl player at 64? Yes, you can. Will you get a blue chip prospect, one of these guys with all the bona fides, all of the intangibles, the size, the speed, and all these things? No, because a blue chip prospect goes in the 1st round. Hence that's what that means. Yeah. So just want to try and be clear on that it's just a play on words, really. Can you get a blue chip guy and it was just the way the question was asked. Can you get a guy at 64 who can be a big contributor to the Denver Broncos? Yes, absolutely you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevor coming in here. Good morning to you, Trevor. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Happy Thursday. Nick and Scott, what is the likelihood that the Broncos draft speed wide receiver at 64 since KJ has been inconsistent? If so, what wide receiver do you see them drafting? Thanks. It's going to be interesting. We have not seen George Payton spend a premium investment on a wide receiver. He took Seth Williams last year, not Sam Williams, Seth Williams last year, who didn't make much of a contribution, but he was a sixth-round pick.
Sixth round?
He's a six-rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and went in the sixth round for a reason. Not a dynamic athlete for the wide receiver position compared to the guys who tend to go earlier. But we haven't seen what premium investment at the position looks like. We also don't know what the offense looks like with Justin Outen, with Nathaniel Hackett, with Russell Wilson. So I think it's possible. However, racking my brain, who are the actual, KJ Hamler speed guys that would make sense there at pick 64? You have Calvin Austin, who is that kind of player. But other than that, I don't really.
Velus Jones, Tennessee.
Velus Jones, yeah.
He seems similar to me in that regard.
Yeah, the big issue with Velus Jones is that he is old as heck for a wide receiver. He's going to be 25 years old. Wan'Dale Robinson, it's another one that's kind of a more gadgety than wide receiver, but you could say KJ Hamler's a little gadgety as well. And for me, I could see it, but you just want to get good players in here. So if they want to get speed at 64, they love Calvin Austin. I guess I could see that, but I think that's probably more. You're probably going to see what that looks like in later in the draft this season. If you do bring in a speed guy, not 64, and also then you reprioritize in the 2023 draft and beyond for reassessing those wide receivers, because then you'll have KJ Hamler and Jerry Judy potentially only on 1 year of control left. That was when it makes sense to bring in a rookie. Then you can, groom them for starting in 2024 and beyond.
Lawrence coming in says, I think there are certain climates that are worse than others geographically. Buffalo. Anybody playing beast in those environments that we might want to take? Not quite sure what that means. But there's guys that are playing in Iowa, in the hot South, down in Miami. So yeah, there's you're not necessarily looking, okay, this guy is a mutter, so I want to make sure I'm drafting him because we're going to be playing in the rain. You're looking for players, and it's kind of nice, that stats can be inflated if I'm playing, in good weather all the time, the West Coast guys. But for me, that means more in baseball than it does in football, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really care where guys come from. I mean, the level of competition matters as far as analyzing the tape, because you want to see, offensive tackles going against guys who are going to be future NFL players, rushing the edge, et cetera, et cetera. So, a quarterback, absolutely dicing up let's say, who is it? Bryce Young killing Chattanooga or something like that, or Matt Corral whipping up on Liberty. Okay. I mean, is he making the plays? Is he not being detrimental? I'm going to hold the bad play more against him than the good play, but good guys come from anywhere, all walks.
And the quarterback position makes me a little more nervous in that regards, because it's harder to measure what makes a good quarterback. Now, I've used this expression before. I don't care the level of competition as long as that player is dominating it, but I do then want to see the measurables. You take Adrian Peterson and drop him in Northern Iowa, he's still Adrian Peterson. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
But if you've got a guy dominating at Northern Iowa or someplace, a smaller level of competition, and then you bring him in and he's a little undersized and he's a little under speed, he's a little under athlete, he just happens to be dominating that competition, then it's a little bit more of a worry. It's one of the reasons, why do I like Troy Anderson so much? He's at Montana State. Well, who couldn't dominate at Montana State? Well, he's a monster athlete. He's one of the best athletes in this draft at any position, let alone linebacker. 6'3.5", 243 pounds, running 4.4s and jumping 39 inches. That translates. So the ability, he couldn't do anything more at his level of competition. Couldn't do anything more. Did it all.
Yeah.
And then he's an athlete. He's got an athleticism profile that puts him at the top of the class. So that's why I like a guy like that, despite the lower level of competition.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you do have questions from the tape that arise, but this is unfortunately, and makes you kind of rewires your brain to be a negative Nancy, but you're looking for reasons to not draft these guys, right? You're starting at the top and then you're knocking them like, what can't he do? What can't he do? And after you have all of that, okay, Now, what can he do? What's his role, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a tear down and build up process for me when I look at the athletic profiles and the tape.
And it's nicer covering NFL draft in that regards because you can be a little more honest than when I did recruiting because you're trying to bring players and they're choosing you. And when you start being negative about them,
Yeah.
their fans get really weird. So, you'll hear me, you won't hear me talk negatively a lot. It'll be the reverse positive. He's not soft. I just like to see him be tougher. He's not too short. He just needs to get a little bigger. He's not too slow. He just needs to get a little quicker. I'd like to see a little more burst, that kind of stuff. And this one you can be a little more honest about it and say, man, I don't think he's fast enough when we're talking about those type of things, because these guys don't have a choice where they're going to school. They're not choosing you and validating that that Northwest Dakota State, Texas A&M is the best place in the world because he chose me over you. I knew that. Well, Scott Kennedy says the guy sucks. Scott Kennedy's an idiot.
Both can be true.
Might be.
Max Power coming in with 2 pounds. All right. Yeah, 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Max. Would you take a receiver at 64 if they're best player available? Yes, I would. I think wide receiver is a valuable enough position, and I'm treating this draft much more about the long-term health of the Broncos than anything else. Now, it would have to be a pretty obvious BPA for me because I'm looking at interior defensive line, edge, linebacker, safety, offensive tackle, cornerback, all before wide receiver. But if I'm looking at Dane Brugler's list of wide receivers right now, if any of the top 8 guys, for me specifically, 8 guys are there at pick 64, I have to think long and hard. And I'll just list the first round guys here because they won't be there. So we'll just get them out of the way. Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave, Traylon Burks. Those guys are not going to be at 64 unless something happens where, Laramie Tunsil bong video release right before the draft. After that, though, there's 3 names that maybe are there at 64. I don't think they will be, but there has to be at least a conversation for me with Johan Dotson at Penn State, Sky Moore at Western Michigan, who I love, and somebody we haven't spoken about much on here, but a very good player. And if his medicals pass, then might be one of the steals of the draft in George Pickens from Georgia, who pretty much missed this entire season, has incredible acrobatic plays on tape. If you guys want to get hyped about a wide receiver making athletic highlight plays, go look up George Pickens freshman year. People thought he was going to be a top 10 pick before that injury. He's kind of weird because he 6'3", 195, can put on a little bit of weight, ran a sub 4.5 40, 4.47, which is good, 32 3/8 arm length, 8 3/4 hands. For somebody who makes the acrobatic plays on the size that he does, to have the small hands like that is so weird. But he's a really good player. If he was BPA at 64, then I would have no issue with it. I think if the Broncos did take a wide receiver at 64, that might be a little bit of a Jerry Judy step up because you are on the potential chopping block for being moved or something like that, just contractually speaking, and maybe getting some value back for the 2023 draft. And this is, again, we talk about taking a wide receiver at 64. We talk about taking a running back at 64. Unlikely, exceedingly unlikely. But there's a reality where maybe that's the direction to go. And I know people will scream, oh, why would we take a wide receiver here? If you guys remember the Broncos, because he was there. And also, you guys, I like to use personal stories for the Broncos that make sense. I mean, it was the 2016-2017 season. Broncos had the no-fly zone still going with an elite defense. Quarterback was not so good anymore, but elite cornerback groups. And then just 2 years later, the Broncos cornerback room was one of the worst in football with Vic Fangio in the 2020 season. So guess what? Needs fluctuate quickly. What you think is a strength right now can be a weakness just a year from now. Football is volatile. Teams are cyclical. And if you want to keep something strong, you invest in it. So I think, especially at pick 64, people get way too upset about specific needs and whatnot. Just get good players that fit your scheme, that are valuable, that you think can hit. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, if you have one of those guys that drops that you absolutely love, again, people talk about like best player available like it's a Bible. If I've got a board of 1 to 100, I might consider 45 through 70 basically the same guy. They might have the same grade. I might just like this one this much more than the next one. But in my board, if I've got a big gap in my ratings as I'm going through this, and that guy at the top of the gap is still there, yeah, I might select him no matter where he is, except maybe quarterback. And even then, who knows? But yeah. I wouldn't have any problem taking a wide receiver at the spot if Christian Watson falls down. And then you're dealing from a position of strength. Somebody's not going to be happy, but life's not fair. NFL, nobody says you're guaranteed to a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Ronquillo in the house. Good morning, Broncos country. Go Broncos. Bryce also saying y'all making
Michael's
work
been
go by.
doing the YouTube thing lately, so came in with a monster super last night that I noticed on YouTube. So thanks, Michael.
Michael, that's for us, not for Chad and Zach. No, I'm just kidding. Just have to tease about it. Bryce coming in saying y'all truly make work go by faster and much more enjoyable for me. Appreciate the show. Ethan also coming in saying I bought a super chat, but YouTube glitches and it isn't showing.
Well, let us know, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yep, let us know. Let us know. We'll if you got a question or anything like that, and appreciate the support. It's the thought that counts.
Yep.
Appreciate the effort.
And Cassie's in here too. Always like to say hello to our Mile High Huddle lady, St. Peter Milton. Hey, hello to you, Cassie. I know you said hello earlier. And Tim also says, I thought it was Lael Collins that had the bong rip video during the draft. No, it was Laramie Tunsil. I will not forget that draft. Lael Collins had his ex-girlfriend was murdered before the draft, and he had a lot of questions. So teams were just not going to draft him until that was resolved. He was found, not to be involved in that, but it happened a week before the draft, and his recently ex-girlfriend, well, they found her dead and murdered, which God sucks, but unbelievable to even talk about that stuff. But it definitely was not Lael Collins. It was definitely Laramie Tunsil with the bong rip. Had to do with his stepdad and something going on there. He's trying to sever relationships, and his stepdad released the video or something. Some ugliness there, no doubt. Yeah, definitely worth an eye roll from you there, Scott. Eddie coming in saying, hey, Nick and Scott, good morning. Do you think we are still going to free agency or just stick with the drafts? If we do trade at draft, could we lose a player? What position do you think that would be? Okay. Holy run-on sentence, Batman. I do this too, Eddie, so I'm just teasing you. Sometimes like, oh my God, what am I doing here? This paragraph is one sentence long. So thank you, Eddie. First is going to be free agency. I think then they'll use the draft afterward, or free agent. Okay. Bleh. First will be the draft. Then afterwards, they'll use free agency to fill in some holes. Backup running back's a position. Tight end, you have Kyle Rudolph you've brought in. If you don't draft the tight end in the first 4 rounds, maybe they look to bring in Kyle Rudolph to help the room. Maybe they bring in a running back, another edge rusher, or something like that, defensive lineman. All those positions make some sense. As far as trading in the draft, definitely possible. What players could the Broncos trade in the draft? I'm trying to think of guys who make sense from a contract structure, who would bring back some value. And a lot of times that's guys on rookie contracts, guys. I know there was some talk yesterday for Deebo Samuel trade. Oh, maybe they're trading Cortland Sutton. Not if they just restructured his contract and skyrocketed his guaranteed money. They wouldn't have done that. Cortland Sutton's here now for a foreseeable future. Tim Patrick too, with the contracts the way they're set up. So maybe I think it's not likely to trade him this season, but Jerry Judy is definitely one of your more tradable assets because you have 2 years of control left. There are some questions about his fit in the offense, and also some questions about how much the Broncos have enjoyed his social media persona / behavior. I'll put it that way. So,
which is okay if you're putting up 1,500 yards.
Yeah, you got to be different, special. And Jerry Judy has not been special yet at an NFL level. The other one is probably Lloyd Cushenberry, name to keep an eye on. So those are the two that come to mind, but we will see how
you're not
plays.
Getting anything for Lloyd Cushenberry.
You could get like a 2023 7th round pick.
That's nothing. So you're not getting anything for him.
George Payton would like the picks, though. I mean, it's kind of like the Broncos last year trading for Kenny Young.
Those are throwaways. To a certain extent, those are throwaways.
Yeah.
Ethan, this is one of the questions. The YouTube 8 is super chat. I'm going to make that into a shirt. Just wanted to see how important you guys consider DBs to be in this draft. I personally think it's important that our depth seems to be super thin. Now, this was a conversation from one of your articles last night. With I think it was Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah talking about the defensive back seemed like one of the bigger needs for the Denver Broncos, and me sitting in the back. So I can't listen to sports radio. I'm like, I want to interject my opinion here on a lot of things. Yeah. So it's tough. I'm like pounding away at the keyboard in the background. So it'll be nice to address this, but I want you to take first shot.
Well, first off, my question is, were they talking about that last night on Huddle Up?
Yes.
Did that come up in conversation? Mm-hmm. I mean, is defensive back the biggest need for the Broncos? The Broncos roster is set up right now where they could go a number of different ways, and it's more about strengthening the room to take on the volatile nature of football. There's going to be injuries that happen, and that's the reason you're drafting some of these depth guys this season. You hope they can push the guys on the fringe and then take over this season or down the line. So somebody like and I think this secondary definitely makes sense. Whether it be a safety or a cornerback, adding to that room is fine with me. Right now, you're set up to probably lean heavily on Caden Stearns / Jamar Johnson / J.R. Reed / P.J. Locke, all potentially, especially with the dime back looks, in line for some big roles. None of those guys were highly drafted assets. If you want to bring in somebody that you like more to compete, maybe push somebody out of there, God bless. I mean, that's football sometimes. Cornerback room, you are an injury away there from being Lord knows. And cornerback's a position where a guy has turf toe, a guy has hamstring. Poof. 6 weeks later, he's gone. He's not there. So I could definitely see them bringing in a cornerback or a defensive back early. I would push back slightly as far as it being the biggest need. And I know that the segment they had was they have to pick one, but
And
I
it
would
was
put,
quick, and that's what I wanted to
yeah,
say is like this wasn't like a written article where they had time to like really think out their thoughts, proofread, and go back through it and do a little
yep,
bit of research. This was kind of off the cuff. It was a podcast, wasn't it, Nick?
yeah, it was a podcast where they
So I
discussed.
give them a little bit more slack on that because we do this, and there's things. That's why we always say, listen, if you got a question or a comment, maybe I want to clarify, hit me after the fact. It gives me a little
Yeah.
bit more time to answer and clarify my thoughts and speak like, no, you can't get a blue chip at 64. Well, Scott, that's a more, you can't say that. Look at all the guys that get drafted after this. That wasn't the point. That wasn't
Yeah.
the point. So maybe I could say it a
Yeah.
little bit better, in writing. So I give them a little bit of slack
Yeah.
on that one, coming off the cuff, saying, yeah, defensive back's a big need. That said, you can play 10 defensive backs,
Yep.
in a game, so, and you're going to need 6 corners. When you're in dime, you're looking at 2 safeties, 4 corners, or 3
Yeah.
and 3.
Yep.
You need 10 defensive backs. You don't need. It's nice. A lot of people don't have 2 defensive backs, but if you were to take a top 3 defensive back, a top 4 defensive back in the draft that makes the top 4 of your squad, he's going to make you better. He's going to play a lot. And yeah, you could do that at 64.
And it's really hard to hide defensive backs in today's NFL with how passing oriented the league is and with just the talent of the offensive ball and how the rules are set up. It's a space position. So, and it's also a system. I was listening to an athletics show yesterday. They had a data analyst on to talk about positions, and it's a system fail, or it's a failure system where the first player to mess up, the whole system fails, rather than the first player to succeed makes the whole player succeed. It's a difference between like wide receiver or edge rusher versus offensive line and defensive back. So for offensive line and wide receiver, you'd rather have a guy who is so godly that you can go to them no matter what, and then the whole unit succeeds. Like a passer, like when Aaron Donald is at his best, you can play whoever next to him. He's succeeding, therefore the whole unit is succeeding. If you have Jalen Ramsey back there, but you're playing with 2 other scrubs, they're avoiding Jalen Ramsey and picking at the 2 other scrubs. So even though you have Jalen Ramsey, it does help you to an extent. There's some scheme stuff. This is obviously dumbed down some, but you want to have your floor, your worst player level of play as high as possible in the secondary. So investing in the secondary makes a lot of sense there. Also, like I said, secondary is an injury position. It's a position where even if you're dinged a little bit, your play can drop a lot. So having 3, 4, 5 cornerbacks out there that you trust really helps you. And this is going to be probably emphatically true in the AFC West, where I think all of these teams right now are going to play a lot of 11 and 10 personnel. I don't see a team that is loaded up at the tight end position with talented tight ends that are going to be trying to go, old school smash mouth 1990s 12-21 personnel ball. This is going to be throw it around the yard type of division. So secondary for sure.
It's a pass happy league. And Nick, I listened to about the first 35 minutes of the athletic pod that you sent me about edge rushers and linebackers. And the thing that I was starting to get a little annoyed with, I'm like, they're talking about the evolution of the league, and they never mentioned rule changes. I'm like, one of the reasons they've had so many evolutions to this league is because of all the rule changes that have benefited the passing game. Every single rule change in the last 50 years has benefited the passing game. And it's becoming a 7-on-7 league, except, instead of pulling a flag, you can hit the quarterback, just not below the waist, not above the shoulders. So you've got a target about that big where you're allowed to hit him. So it's having more defensive backs is a good thing. Mark Schrader, you're awesome. He says, good morning, no question today, but really enjoy you both. Well, we really enjoy you as well. Thank you for being here. You are a big help and contributor to this show, literally. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lawrence Rivera coming in saying, I'll be out of service this weekend, so if you guys do a show, I'll watch it later. Much love, everyone. We got Julian coming in. I don't recognize this name, Julian, saying
Welcome, Julian.
linebacker or cornerback should be the first picks, then pick Jelani Woods later. Man, I'd be fine with how this plays out, but I'm not married to any of this. Seriously, the only positions right now with the Broncos where I'm like, maybe they shouldn't be taking it at 64, for me specifically, is fullback, kicker, punter. We'll just get that long snapper, get it out of the way.
There's not even
Cornerback,
a fullback anymore, Nick. It's not even a position anymore.
yeah, unless you're Kyle Juszczyk. But I would say a quarterback's a position at 64 with how this roster is set up. You should not go quarterback. A pure guard doesn't make any sense for me with how this team is set up at 64. Now, if they are right tackle guard or center guard, then okay, but a pure guard doesn't make sense for me. After that, honest to God, I don't care. I will add the caveat that this year specifically, I don't have any tight ends that are worth the 64th overall pick for the Broncos. Now, other years, there would be guys that are worth that. It's not so much the tight end position itself, although that is devalued, but it's the prospects available for tight end. I wouldn't take any of these guys myself at pick 64, but really, you just got to let the board fall to you. And if the best player available at pick 64 is Jaquan Brisker, safety, hallelujah. Best player available at pick 64 is Kyler Gordon, cornerback. Awesome. Quay Walker, linebacker. Hallelujah. Kenny Walker, running back. Okay, I get it. I don't have any problem with that, honest to God. So real good flexibility, and that's a shout out to George Payton doing what we've screamed about on these shows for years. For years. Free agency, you need to make your roster as complete as possible so whatever you have can go take the field and you're comfortable with that before the draft even happens. Then when the draft comes, let the board fall to you. Guys that fit your scheme, guys that fit your culture, guys that fit your specific metrics, positional value allotment, et cetera, all come into play so you can take a really holistic approach to the draft and not hold yourself back. You don't want to limit your options. It's already hard enough to draft and hit picks. Your odds are already too low. Why limit your options?
String Guy comes in, says, Scott, why is Zach so opposed to drafting a running back 1 in this draft? I'm not convinced we have a guy on the roster who can hold up as running back 1 through 17 games in the playoffs. A couple of reasons here. String, I appreciate the question, and we're talking went a lot last night. Zach Kelberman, for those of you on that aren't positive, that just watch us in the mornings, Huddle Up Pod. Couple of reasons. One, you've got an RB1. You do, Javonta Williams. 2, at 64, there's probably other ways you can use that pick that will help the team more because you also have Mike Boone. This is something Nick and I have talked about a lot. If you are talking about a running back in the second or third round, it means Mike Boone is done. It means they don't trust Mike Boone to be a second running back because you do. You need 2. You've got 2. You're paying a second guy very well right now. So he also believes in Mike Boone. So that's another reason. And 3, you can get guys. You know, if I'm looking at a board here right now and I'm like, okay, let's say James Cook, who's ranked 90th on NFL mock draft database, and you reach for him and take him at 64, I might get Devontae Price in the 6th, who's 6'2", 205 pounds, running 4.4s out of FIU. You know, so there are guys you can get. So it's not necessarily against taking a running back. You're going to need a third running back. You're going to. Yeah. You might need a second one. That's the question about Mike Boone. That's the big question we still have. It's about taking a running back early. They don't want to take a running back early. And frankly, I don't want to take a running back early for this team either. I'd rather use that at tackle, at edge, at corner, one of those 3 positions before I'd even think about taking a running back at that spot.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I am very much running backs don't matter. That's always a little tongue in cheek. I don't like paying running backs big second contracts. I don't like using a first round pick on a running back. I don't really even like using a top 40 pick on a running back. But this is a good transition to our topic earlier. The Broncos' most valuable weapons on the team for 2022. And this is the conversation. This is funny. Somebody's like, where's Nick? You've been invaded by body snatchers or something. I think the most valuable and important, the most important Broncos offensive weapon this season for the way the roster is set up right now is Javonta Williams. Because right now, for one season specifically, I don't trust Mike Boone as the number 2 just because I don't know Mike Boone as the number 2 option. He could be very good, but you're not paying him like he's great. You're paying him like he's a number 2, which is okay. But you don't know if he can hold the load there. And Javonta Williams has never been a bell cow back since dating back to high school. He had Michael Carter there at North Carolina. He had Melvin Gordon this last season. So, and I don't consider Russell Wilson an offensive
not counting
weapon.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
that one's obvious. Offensive skill players that aren't quarterbacks.
Yes. So for me, I think Javonta Williams is number 1, and it's because if you lose Javonta Williams, your offensive structure falls apart. Now, you could lose him for a couple games and be okay, but if you lose him for anything more than 6, I think you're in trouble. And that goes also because of Russell Wilson's avoidance of the middle of the field. I think if you use the short, quick pass game and the run game, it can be a little bit redundant. But because the short, quick pass game over the middle of the field is less with Russell Wilson, that means your running game is more important. You have to rely on that. So really, I really think it's Javonta Williams number 1, which is crazy. He's not the most valuable. Like if there was a trade right now, Jerry Judy would get more. The wide receivers would get more because running backs are replaceable and you can find them every single draft. And they're also only as valuable as the rookie contract typically. But for this draft, or for this team specifically for 2022, I don't trust what's behind Javonta Williams. If he goes down, I'm worried about the offensive structure. He's my most important.
There's no redundancy built in right now. Again, the talk, and I'll say it until we find out differently. The reason why there seems to me there's so much talk about the second running back position is because Mike Boone might not be the guy. Is he? That's the question we've got. I'd like to see him. Let's get him 10 carries for 10 games, 10 carries a game, and see if he can be a legit number 2. Otherwise, they don't trust him. And if they don't trust him, they need to cut him because you're not paying a backup a third string running back $2.5 million a year. No way. That's a 7th round guy. That's a practice squad guy that you bounce in and out. So I'd be okay with that pick, Javonta Williams. Everywhere else, you've got a redundancy built in, except tight end.
But that's one. I agree with you on tight end. But I'm okay with the specialized bodies here. So let's keep getting into it. I'll just go for my top ranking of the Broncos players in terms of value and importance. The pass catchers, I have the next 4 being wide receivers. Not even getting into a tight end yet as terms of importance. They're just placeholders. They are the linebacker of the offense. Whereas as long as they're not
talking as far as redundancy.
Yeah.
If I've got 4 wide receivers, one of them goes down. Okay, well that means somebody moves up. The number one, whoever the number 1 is, and that's the fun thing about the Broncos. Who is the number 1 guy? Could be any one of 3 guys.
Yep.
So if one of those guys goes down, whoever you put at number 1, you move everybody up the rung, and then really your number 4 just gets worse. So that's not so bad. There's redundancy built in there. But who would you say? And let's hit this one real quick before we get to the next guys. As far as Rob coming in, the Green Super, appreciate that very generous super. Rob says, could we afford to pay all 3 of Russ, Jerry Judy, and Bradley Chubb next offseason? Assuming they produce or demand an extension. Listening from Nashville. Go Broncos.
If Jerry Judy demands an extension, in my opinion, he's gone. I'm trading him because I think you can find other wide receivers in the way the contracts are set up. I'm looking for other guys. And you listed, I think, Russ is going to get an extension regardless. Chubb, you don't know right now. You do have the power of the tag, which can do things. And maybe you can even do a tag and trade situation for him. And that's one reason that I am gung-ho about drafting an edge rusher early. Not only are the top guys above the top guys of your edge rushers and Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb injury prone, not playing a lot of games, but Chubb's set to walk after the season. So I would want to draft somebody this year that can help the room and give you some protection there in case there is an injury, but then also hopefully step in and take Chubb's place next season as a cost controlled option at the second most highest paid position in football at the edge rusher spot.
And Rob, I think you could afford to, you just might not want to. And the question for me is the tag for sure on Bradley Chubb. If he produces double-digit sacks, tag him. Make him do it 2 years in a row. Make him prove he can do it 2 years in a row and tag him. I don't particularly like that option, but by God, if I'm in charge, I'm using it. I'm going to use that option. I don't like limiting players' options like that. It seems unfair to me. Mm-hmm. But $20 million is a pretty good compensation for being unfair.
Yeah, and I would love to get, if that happened with Chubb, tag him and then somebody offers you 2 second-round picks to move on from him. I know it's an edge. You'd hope for a first, but the 2 seconds is also really good, especially we keep coming back to it. How this team is going to have to be set up. You're going to need young, cost-controlled rookies to contribute big time on the roster with your quarterback making $50 million. So that's going to be a big-time one. And you didn't list, I think, the guy who's in line to get a big contract there that I would have a conversation with before maybe even Chubb and Judy is Draymond Jones. I think Draymond Jones is going to have a big year this year. Excited to see what he can do. So next for me, ranking the wide receivers, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton, number 1, then Tim Patrick, then Jerry Judy, then KJ Hamler. I think KJ Hamler could push his way up to top. This is very volatile, but that's how I'd rank the wide receivers right now in terms of value and importance. And they're the next after Javonta Williams, number 1, which is God. Hello, I am still Nick Kendall. saying running back number 1 most important for next year right now, which is
Blink
insane.
twice if you're okay.
Yeah. But the issue is if you lose KJ Hamler for a couple weeks, if you lose Cortland Sutton for a bit, you have depth that I trust there with those 4 guys. Obviously, you can have more. That's great if you want to bring another wide receiver. Then after that, I go Okwuegbunam, Tomlinson, Mike Boone. So, boom.
Now, if the offensive line gets better and you improve the offensive line and you're able to get guys out of the box, the running back position doesn't become quite as important. Ask the Cleveland Browns. Remember, they're playing against you with. When we went into that game, we're like, well, this guy's hurt. They're running their third string running back coming off the practice squad or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but that offensive line and defensive lines were fine. And that's how they're winning games. And that's where the Broncos are losing games.
Yeah.
That's how that game turned out.
The Broncos were playing you and me at linebacker that game too.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm running the other way. I'm not taking on a guard, a pulling guard, getting to the second level. I'm giving him a head fake, trying to get around him. I like that order. I'd go Sutton as well. I think he's poised to catch back up to where he was before he got hurt. I think he's ready for breakout season. He already had his breakout season. I think he's ready. There was a dip. If you look at his timeline, it fell. He's ready to go back on the ascendancy. Patrick, Judy should overtake Patrick this year. He should. I'm not saying he will. But if he's going to become the guy that was a first-round draft pick and become the guy that we think he should be, this is a year he needs to do it.
Yeah.
If Hamler ends up being your 4th option at wide receiver, you're pretty happy because he's healthy and he's contributing. If he's not, then it's not going to be him. But I agree with you on that order. Now, which puts Albert Okwuegbunam, bringing up the rear and the importance of this offense.
Do you have KJ Hamler above Alberto?
Quick draft. How about you?
I'm ready too. Just real quick questions. You didn't list KJ Hamler. Is he?
I said 4. 4's
you
fine.
said 4. Okay. And
who else would it be right now?
You could argue Albert Okwuegbunam above KJ Hamler, maybe.
I probably would do that then because I don't trust that KJ Hamler is going to be available.
Yep, that's a good. That's fair.
Don't. He should be, and it'd be nice. And that's kind of what I said. If he is great, if he ends up being the 5th option, the 5th most productive skill player on this team. Good for him.
One last question. Did you have Javonta Williams number 1?
I'm sorry?
Did you have Javonta Williams number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep,
which is crazy.
There's no redundancy there.
Yeah.
If you get improvement out of your offensive line, Javonta Williams becomes less important, but he should be a 25 touch a game player.
Right now, how it's set up. Yeah. I agree with you.
25 touches a game, 18 carries, 5 or 6 receptions. Yeah. And that's going to be, and he's going to be really good.
And blinking twice here. It is Nick, running back, the most important skill position, offensive skill position guy. Absolutely crazy. And the Broncos last year, they faced the highest rate of stacked boxes in the NFL. Hopefully that'll change this year with Russell Wilson being one of the most efficient, prolific deep ball throwers in the history of the NFL. Again, part of that is because the middle of the field, he doesn't use it as much. So we keep coming back to that. Oh, how is Russell Wilson having the best completion percentage over expected of any quarterback in the NFL over the last 10 years? It's because he's not getting those easy passes that other quarterbacks are getting over the middle of the field. So it all points to that. So the running game, actually really important for the Broncos here. And let's get into the draft. We're already at 53 minutes. We might go a little bit long today. But if Judy
and I agree with Ethan here. I just don't. I think Cortland Sutton, 1,400 yards in his second year, or somewhere in that neighborhood. He's established himself. If he gets back to that level that he was on, he's a number 1 on just about every team around. So I do. He'll be tough to overtake. If you end up with 1,500 and 1,200 out of Judy, yes, very, very happy.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get into this mock draft here. I'm excited to see what all this looks like here with the new board. I have a feeling we know some of the players that we're going to take, and this time I'm going to cheat. Everybody keeps giving us a hard time on the mock drafts and then post us their God-blessed, actually, I guess, God-forsaken Pro Football Network mocks where they're drafting Aiden Hutchinson at pick 64 and then getting Trevon Walker at pick 75. Nick, look at this one. This one's much better. Don't send me your PFN mocks. I can't handle it because I like to draft on hard. And that's what the PFF mock draft simulator is because the guys that I like are almost always gone. And that's especially true when Scott's drafting with the Falcons in front of me, taking the guys that I'm interested in. So we are.
I kind of want to go up to the top here and see where they've got going again. Hutchinson, Stingley, Thibodeau, Sauce, Kyle Hamilton, Icky, Evan Neal, Charles
Girl.
Cross, right tackle for Atlanta. Travon Walker at 10. The first quarterback comes off the board at 19 to the Saints. Jordan
Possible.
Davis at 17. I've seen that one a lot, Nick.
Yep.
Jordan Davis to the Chargers.
Yeah, that would be talk about going from terrible run defense to one of the best in the NFL. Austin Johnson, Sheldon Joseph Day, Khalil Mack, and then Jordan Davis. Night and day difference here. All right, well, this board absolutely sucks, but I'm upset. I almost want to hit
Pickens to the Falcons at 43. That'd be a nice pick. Quay Walker, 42.
all these guys that I like here in this range.
Christian Watson goes all the way to 48. Oh, that's a really good pick. If you can get him there. Pascal got moved up, so his rankings got moved up. There's Logan Hall for you. Troy Anderson to the Cowboys. Interesting.
There's Abraham Lucas too. Okay, can we scroll down? Because right now, every single one of these players I despise at the pick. Don't like. The guy to go with here. No, I don't think it's Cam Taylor Britt. I don't think it's Zach Tom. I think it's Cam Taylor Britt. I think he is one of the best defensive backs as a scheme fit in this draft for the Broncos. Is he a cornerback? Is he a safety? Is he a slot? I don't know. He's long. He's explosive. He's a team captain. We just talked about it earlier, how the Broncos need defensive back help. He can literally play all three defensive back spots for the Broncos, and he's a phenomenal tackler and a good athlete with good length. I'm going to pound the table here, unless we want to take a trade down and do one of those things. But the guy here that seems far and away better for me for the Broncos at pick 64 is Cam Taylor Britt. And I know we've been cheating to an extent, getting Cam Taylor Britt pick 75 and everything like that. But this is a blinking light for me. Cam Taylor Britt's the obvious choice.
Lucas went to the Chiefs. I'm telling you, the Ravens and the Chiefs get all my guys in these mocks. Who'd the Ravens get? Because I want to look at them again.
Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. That would be.
They took a running back.
Breece Hall there.
Who'd they take in the first? Because the Ravens always get my guys.
They probably took like George Karlaftis or something.
Ravens, where'd they pick?
14.
14. Jamison Williams.
Oh, that'd be fun. That's where Deebo Samuel should go. I want to see what Deebo Samuel looks like playing off of Lamar Jackson. All the space there that they could create, amazing. Let's see what the chat has to say about that pick there. I would not go.
It's split.
It's split.
There's some. EJ likes the pick. Let's see. Kathy Perrion Winfrey was not on the board still. I don't believe. I scrolled up, but I didn't look at him. Dale likes the pick. Michael does not.
That's okay, Michael. I absolutely despise. Not despise. That's rough. But Kingsley Enagbare, he is such a poor athlete at the position. He has one of the bottom 10-yard splits of any edge rusher in the last 10 years. And while he has incredible length, he has absolutely no bend as well. And almost all of his pressures came against non-Power 5 teams. So great length, but he is purely a first and second down run stopping edge, which first and second down in today's NFL, I need that from you, but I need that as well as the pass rushing. So he's not for me for the Broncos there. Also Asamoah, I don't think he's a very good fit in a 3-4 team. I love the length. I love the athleticism. I don't love his ability to take on blockers. I think you're going to play him more as a star in this position. But is what it is. And I see some people saying, I like Pascal at pick 64. Pascal is already gone.
He was gone. He got moved up to 44 on their new board. So we used to get him fairly late. I like Pascal too. And Perrion Winfrey went at 70 in the third round.
There he is. He would have been option there too. I prefer Cam Taylor Britt over Perrion Winfrey with what I've heard from some things. Can we scroll up? I just want to see who came off the board here. Nick Cross, Jalen Tolbert, Christian Harris, Cam Taylor Britt. So scroll down a little bit for on the board here.
There wasn't anything there. We don't pass on Zach Tom again.
I think I might, because I might cheat the system here so we get a good grade and take Cam Jurgens at 96. I think he's there.
Wait on him.
I think I might cheat and wait on Cam Jurgens because I think he's better than Zach Tom. He just is. So, God, this is a pretty bad board though for the Broncos.
No, let's take him. Jurgens won't be there. Let's take him.
Back-to-back Nebraska picks is rough. Actually, we just took in Scott. Let's do it. Let's take Sam Williams. Let's say this is the reality where the Broncos they worked out the background here. They got the background. They trust him. There goes Cam Jurgens. That's okay. I was willing to take that chance. So he went off the board there. We ended up taking
Cam
Sam
Jurgens
Williams
went at 87.
Yep.
Zach Tom went right after us at 77.
That's
See,
okay with me.
D'Angelo Malone is there, isn't a bad pick as well.
We already took an edge,
But
but
we went that direction already. Marcus Jones, we went corner already.
I like a lot of these cornerbacks here.
And 96 isn't a bad place to get a running back.
I think I want to wait on running back. Keep scrolling down. There's Jelani Woods. This is an area where Jelani Woods maybe starts to actually make some sense. But maybe we want to roll the dice and see if he's there at pick. Braxton Jones is there. Scroll back up.
Braxton Jones, I like that pick. He's moved up the rankings, and we don't pick again until 115.
That's soon, though.
There's your right tackle.
You know what? I'm going to make a plea here for you on this one. This is somebody we haven't taken very much, and maybe it's a little bit of redundancy, but this whole episode, we spent about 20 minutes talking about the value of depth in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And we already did one where Sam Williams, he passes the background checks as far as the battery that he had. I'm going to have one here where I'm going to say that Marcus Jones passes the shoulder injury here. Broncos need a punt returner. And Cam Taylor Britt, is he a safety? Is he a slot? Is he a boundary corner? I don't know. I don't care that much. There's Braxton Jones.
I'm taking Braxton Jones at 115.
Yep, let's do it. Braxton Jones here.
And then you can have 116.
Okay, that sounds good. No, I'm 100% with you. Can you see where, can you scroll up, though? I just want to see where a couple guys that I was interested in here went. There's D'Angelo Malone. There's Jelani Woods. That's too bad, but is what it is. There's Jeremy Rutkert as well.
Falls to the fourth.
It's Case Sarasara. Hey, that makes some sense to me. There's Lawante Taylor. They're another name that I really like for the Broncos. Okay, let's scroll down. You took our tackle here, so I'm feeling okay about tackle. There's Dane Belton. We've gone very high in the secondary, though. This is the spot where I'm gonna give in. This guy's a freak athlete, but I think doesn't know what he's doing at the linebacker spot yet. But you're talking the fourth round with one of the highest Ross players of all time, who has like a 34-inch arm length. Insane athlete. At the very least, he is going to be a phenomenal special teams player. And I don't know how much Penn State you've watched, Scott, but Brandon Smith 2 years ago essentially played the star backer position where he didn't have to play over the trash of the offensive line, essentially lined up over the tight ends. And I'm going to use Brandon Smith, hopefully in that role early on. You get a freak athlete. He's also somebody who actually has the mass that could be a pass rusher as well. He has a hard time sorting through trash and keying in the run game. Move him to the line of scrimmage and say, go attack ball.
Yeah, you got one job. You got one job. Beat that tackle, because they're not. It's an empty back set. You know, there's no tight end. You got one guy, and if they double you, then we'll get you. Then our end will be available.
I think I'm going to say Brandon Smith here for me.
If you're going to miss, here, let's look him up real quick. Brandon Smith,
freak athlete. His mock draftable chart is insane. Again, really doesn't know what he's doing yet at the linebacker position, so there is some
wrong guy.
There is some concern about his projection, but this is where you draft the guys who are like, okay, freak athletes, but not the best football player yet.
That was a fail. Yeah, if you're going to miss on a guy that's 245, 50 pounds with this athleticism, I'm okay with that for sure.
Yeah,
throw him on the practice squad and say, fight your way out of it, or you're going to be here forever.
Yep. He's a freak athlete, and I'd be very curious to see how he does in the next level. I absolutely love the arm length as well. Even if you move him to edge, his arm length is in the 86th percentile, his 40-yard dash in the 90th percentile, broad jump 95th percentile, vertical 90th percentile. The only area where he's small is weight, but 250 is not incredibly small for an edge rusher.
He's almost the same size as Micah Parsons.
And listen to this. This is insane. So I'm looking at mock draftable right now. Brandon Smith's most comparable athletic profiles as far as his actual measurements from the combine. Number one, Cambrion Wembley, who, if you guys remember, was a first-round pick. Didn't hit in the league, but a good athlete there, first-round pick. After that, Lorenzo Carter just got a good contract, kind of a jack linebacker. After that, it's Danielle Hunter. Everybody knows Danielle Hunter. Then it's Josh Sweat. Then it's Jadeveon Clowney. And then it's Brian Burns. Boye Mafe, also one of the highest relatable skill sets there. So Brandon Smith here, I think, makes a lot of sense. We spent a lot of time talking about a fourth-round pick, but I think
you had to talk yourself into it on that one. That's why. Yeah. You're justifying it to yourself. Your brain saying, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. Several good options here. I like Willetsko.
Both running backs stick out to me here.
I like Pierre Strong if we wanted to get our running back here. Daniel Bellinger, tight end, I do like. Uzarike might be the guy I want in this spot.
I think the option that screams out to me here is
and I like JT Woods also.
I think the option that screams out to here for me, if it's going to be my brand, is Daniel Bellinger. I think getting him round 5 is an absolute steal. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he goes round 3. He's probably one of the best blocking tight ends in this class.
We
His
need for sure
Yep.
for this group. We don't need a pass catcher. We don't need a speedy pass catcher as much as we need a good old fashioned tight end.
Yep, 100%. So we are on the board again. Oh my God. Okay, this is going to be a lot of fun here. We're round 6. Ty Chandler sticks out to me here, but I want to talk about this guy. If you scroll down a little bit, Jason Poe. Can you? I don't know if you can click the see more or anything on that, but he is not tall. 6'1", 300, so very small for the center guard position. He tested like an unbelievable athlete at Mercer's Pro Day. He played some center. He played some fullback. I know he's a little small, but he has similar arm length to that of Tyler Linderbaum. Similar weight to that of Tyler Linderbaum. I think he's super discount Tyler Linderbaum. To get him in the 6th round here, I think is a dice roll that's worth it because he is that level of athlete. I think this is again 6th round. You're betting on something like that here. He's small, but outside zone scheme. I'm interested.
Yeah, he's moved up the board for sure. I don't think he was at the combine, so he was a pro day guy. So that's okay.
Yeah, and I think if you look in Ross, his athletic profile mimics really closely to Aaron Donald, which is crazy. But that's like the type of athlete and length and body type that he has.
And now we're getting towards the bottom here. Where you just try and find guys that can play. Jack Jones can play a little bit.
Yeah, Jack Jones. Sorry, I was looking at Jason Poe's stuff here. Man, I almost feel like we have to take a running back here because we haven't yet. Brock Purdy. Oh, actually, you know what? This is a good pick for me. I think Noah Ellis down here makes a lot of sense. We haven't taken an interior defensive lineman yet. He's a nose tackle. That makes some sense here. And we're back on the clock. I forgot about that. Looking at running back here. Jerion Ely, Snoop, CJ Vidal. Can we just take Tyler Goodson here? I think he's a good, you're looking for a little bit of thunder and lightning. 7th round here. Tyler Goodson is a really good outside zone scheme fit and a home run hitter and a slasher playing behind a very bad Iowa offensive line last season. So he makes sense there in the 7th round.
I think it's funny you get a C for Sam Williams because they've got him underranked.
Yep. Got an A for Jason Poe though. Yeah, overall B+ draft. So yeah, guys, let us know in the comment section what you think, and you guys let us know what's going on here. Yeah, Poe is a stud, said Wade. Ty Chandler seemed obvious to me too, but I just really wanted to talk about Poe because he's somebody who has such a weird body type and ability, and I think we haven't talked about him much at all, but again, he is somebody who freak athlete.
That's a lot of picks for a team that doesn't have a ton of holes.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see packaging a couple of these. Let's go 115 and 116 and move up to 80. Something along those lines. 206 and 232, we move up to 175. I can see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to share real quick on my screen here, Scott, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, we're done with this one.
Just the RAS relative athletic score comparison for Tyler Linderbaum versus Jason Poe, and you can see what I'm talking about here as far as athleticism. Now he's a little bit shorter, obviously 6'1" versus 6'2", but he's got longer arms. He weighs the same. He benched more than Linderbaum, and after that, I mean, his athletic metrics are pretty darn close. So again, don't sleep on Poe because he is somebody right now who I think actually might work. Mike, oh my God.
All right, man. Michael, appreciate you coming in on YouTube with a bang. So thank you for finishing us off here. Thank you, sir. Can't say enough about your generosity for sure. So thank you, sir. Yep. Very much.
Wow. That's
different Michael Kerr. Thank you, Michael. Michael Renquillo coming in. I'm going to look that one up. I want to see what the super sticker is on that one as well. So thank you so much for coming in red. I love it, Michael. Thank you, sir. You're a huge help to the show.
That is incredibly generous, and we appreciate you so much for that. And guys, let us know in the chat what you thought about that. I mean, some of the picks were hard, but really appreciate that. And yeah, we got super duper star Michael coming in. Thank you guys so much. I guess that's about it for us. The last Broncos for breakfast before the week of the draft
week.
Oh man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. DWI guys giving me a hard time saying the Bellinger pick is an F. He's just trying to hurt my feelings now. And Sean saying 115 and 116 are valuable in this draft. It's a lot of
I
fun to have
agree.
the back to
We
back.
got Braxton Jones there. Braxton Jones could be a starting right tackle by November.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And String Guy coming in saying it'll be fun to talk draft after the draft and compare George Payton picks to yours, Nick. Peyton knows what he's doing 10 times over compared to what I do, and they have way more knowledge than I do. But doesn't mean that we're not going to critique it and put our own spin on what we think it should be. And we'll see how the chips fall. I mean, this is projecting the future, and anybody who says they know what it is a con man. So, there's always a little bit of unpredictability, and that's what makes this space so fun, is that we are talking opinions and basing it on past knowledge, and we can critique it without having any sort of like God complex where I know everything and you're right. Anybody who does that is wrong to begin with.
And what'll be interesting to me is it's just, again, what mock drafts are for is to see who can be available. Who are some of the players that can be available that you've got choices to take? Not they're going to take this guy. Because if you do a mock draft of the first round, one outlier changes the entire board. It's like I missed 2, so now 3 through 32 are now offline. So I am distracted here by Ethan coming in to finish us off, seeing red to close us out. Wow. But it'll be interesting to see, how close are these guys that we're taking in these spots to where they came off the board, because now I think the PFF, their rankings are getting closer to where we like the guys to a certain extent too. And Ethan, Michael, Mark, all of y'all coming in today, Max Power, everybody that came in today to support the show, you're friggin' awesome. We love you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Make sure you guys are tuning in tonight for an episode of Huddle Up Podcast with Zach and Chad. And then tomorrow, I think George Payton is having a pre-draft press conference. So it should be a lot of fun to hear what he has to say. And we'll be live on Scott's channel tomorrow. Scott, plug that real quick, because that's not.
Yeah. So when Nick's going through the run through, we'll go through and we talk a lot of we'll probably mock draft again because it's just fun.
Yeah,
we talk a lot of players. It is an Atlanta Falcons show, but Nick and I are football guys. We like the process. And when Nick's going through the closeout here, we will. I'll put a link into my channel to make sure that you're there tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain.
Yeah, it sounds great, man. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Scott's channel, and appreciate everybody joining us today. We appreciate you. Scott will post out that mock draft afterward. Get at us on Twitter. And Ethan, I do feel better now. Thank you so much. Although Daniel Bellinger is one of my guys. I mean, I thought I was high on him, and then Daniel Jeremiah comes out and puts him as his number 3 overall tight end in this class. So I'm not even that high. I thought I was like, okay, Daniel Bellinger, round 6, round 5 every time. Hallelujah. Sign me up. I think he's probably closer to, one of those 115, 116 picks. And that hasn't, if they take him there, I'd be fine with that. But 3 overall tight end in this class. Not a very good tight end class as far as number 1 tight ends, but that's okay. We're going to get on out of here, guys. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you guys are following Scott on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, follow us on our Facebook communities, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. On Facebook, we got a Care React coming in from Carolina Lens. Thank you so much, Carolina Lens, over on Facebook with the Care React. You guys be like Carolina Lens. Join us there. Drop us a like, heart react, whatever, and do the same on YouTube. Please subscribe, like, and share on Huddle Up. And if you haven't done so yet, find us on Apple Podcasts. Scroll down to Huddle Up Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review and a comment that we will get to at a later point in time. Good mock. That was one of my favorites that we've done so far. Maybe it's because you didn't really push me too much because we were getting long. And I'm like, this is the guy that I want. And then we move forward. But
no, I defer. I pick my battles. People think, that I'm super argumentative only when I'm right. If I'm not sure, I'll sit in the back. But if I'm arguing, by God, I'm passionate about it. Pick your battles. And those were battles I was going to pick. You know those guys at the back end of the draft better than I do. No doubt.
Yeah. No, I have the guys that are my pets, right? Like, I really like this guy. I'm comfortable with this guy. There's probably guys that I'm overlooking.
The only one I'm not even asking. I'm taking Braxton Jones here.
Yep. And
I'm not even asking. I got the keys. I'm clicking it.
That was one where I was like, okay, I got 3 offensive tackles in range that makes sense there, that I'm going to play the value game of waiting, just see who falls. And we did that with center. We got burned. at pick 96. We ended up getting Poe later, who I'm happy about because I was thinking I'd really like to walk out with Poe in this one, just so we can talk about him. But there was a Spencer Burford at UTSA, Matt Walesko at North Dakota, and Braxton Jones. All of those guys were still there at pick 96. So I'm like, you know what? Let's take the Marcus Jones here because we haven't done it very much. We already took Sam Williams, kind of a weird draft there. And Marcus Jones, I think he could be, a really good safety cornerback prospect in this scheme if his shoulders are good. And we need a returner. So about that, Kareem saying, no, don't go. Don't want to focus on work. We do got to go. We'll see you guys tomorrow over on Scott's channel. We're going to have a lot of fun there and talk a lot more draft. Do another mock draft simulator. A lot of fun. Appreciate you guys. Stay safe. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. Go Broncos.